happening, guys? This is Jordan with J Card Wrestling here, and I thought I'd do a kind of a cool video here for you guys. We are in the Royal Rumble season, as we all know, and one of the most controversial Royal Rumbles ever to take place was the Royal Rumble in 2014 in Pittsburgh, and I was actually there at the show. I was there in person watching this controversial show and watching this history-making show that we all witnessed about 5 years ago. I cannot believe that it's been 5 years since that show. And I remember it so clearly. I remember basically every detail from my point of view, and then basically every detail from from what happened in the show as well. And I thought, people still talk about it to this day. But I'd like to come up here and tell you basically my opinions. What I thought, what I experienced, how the fans were like, because that was a huge thing with the crowd, of course. The Daniel Bryan controversy, the CM Punk controversy, the Batista controversy. So there's a lot of shit that happened at this show that people still talk about to this day. It was also considered one of the, I guess, game changers for WWE, if you will. How significant it was and how historic it was. And it made Daniel Bryan's career. It ended CM Punk's career. Think about that. And then Batista's career, I guess, took a shit, I guess, if you will. I won't say took a shit, but I mean, he didn't go anywhere. But he got booed everywhere, which I want to talk about later on about Batista here. So I thought it'd be really cool for me to just come up here, just hear my story about the Royal Rumble 2014 when I was there in Pittsburgh. So the Royal Rumble 2014, man, that was one hell of a show, and actually wasn't my favorite show I ever went to, but it was definitely one of the most, I guess, proudest shows I went to. How historic it was and how great it was. My buddies and I have been wrestling fans all of our lives. We still talk about wrestling today. They're more away from, their eyes aren't really much on the product anymore as mine are. I mean, mine are still glued to it ever since I've been 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old. But I remember back then, over 5 years ago now, I was living at my parents' house. I was 19 years old. And my buddies gave me a call saying, in October, saying they just announced the Royal Rumble will be in Pittsburgh. And I'm like, shut up, because they would always pull my tail and just tell me stupid shit that wasn't true. And they said, no, go look online. And long and behold, WWE announced we'll be in Pittsburgh at the time called Collins Energy Center. And I was like, holy shit, we don't live about an hour and a half in Pittsburgh. Let's fucking go. So when the tickets went on sale, I remember it was a Friday, and I was like, I don't care what the fuck I'm doing. I am going to this show. I'm buying tickets because it's a big four pay-per-view. It's gonna sell out pretty damn fast. And I was like, we're going. So I remember I sit at my mom's computer in the kitchen, and I just bought the tickets. I bought all 4 tickets, and I'm like, well, I don't know if I can buy it. I don't know if I can buy it. I'm like, I'm buying all the tickets for you guys. Fuck you guys. And they pay me back eventually later, but I bought all the tickets. And the picture's showing now, but I was so ecstatic when I bought those tickets that I just had to post all over the place. I mean, that was my first pay-per-view that I'd be going to, and it was a main 4 pay-per-view for WWE. So I was pretty ecstatic when I found out I was going. And then from the time I bought the tickets to the time we went, we would just talk about it, and how excited we were, and who we thought was gonna, appear. And I'm a huge Taker fan, as you all know, and they thought maybe he would appear at the Rumble, and I never thought he would, but it was a possibility, and whatever. We were just all excited for it, man. Probably about the Wednesday before the Royal Rumble, we were getting some really crappy weather and ice, freezing rain, ice, snow, the whole 9 yards. I mean, we live in Northwest Pennsylvania. We get some shitty weather in the winter. With the snow and the cold. And one of my parents' buddies is like, well, what are you going to do if it snows and shit? I said, like, what are you going to do? I'm like, what do you mean I'm going to do? I'm still going to fucking go. I spent how much money on these tickets? And I'm going. And she's like, well, my son's not going. I'm like, all right, I don't care. I'll go by myself. But thankfully, it cleared up. We went. It was still kind of crappy up, but thankfully we went. We went out to eat beforehand down in Pittsburgh. We arrived at the Collins Energy Center, And keep in mind that this is the first WWE live event I went without a parent around because I was just 19 years old, and this is the first live event that I went to since 2005. For about almost 10 years there. I just didn't go to them because high school, you don't have any money, you have other shit going on, and my eyes get off the product for a while there. But that's a whole other video. But I remember getting there, and there's all these excited fans. Everyone's chanting yes outside because when Daniel Bryan was white hot, and then the CM Punk chants because he was pretty white hot as well. Not as hot as Daniel Bryan was, but I remember just all these chants and these wrestling fans. I remember thinking, kind of like a homecoming reunion thing. It was really cool. Remember going in it, and then went up the escalators because of course we had to get nosebleed seats because we're just a bunch of 19-year-old kids with no money, just scrape out money we had to go to the show. So we got the nosebleed sections, and then I remember there was a couple matches beforehand that I went and rewatched this on the network a couple days ago just to get a refresher. And New Age Outlaws, goddamn, I couldn't think of it. New Age Outlaws won the WWE tag team titles. And I was thinking to myself, oh my god, it's like a throwback to 1999. It was really cool to see something like that, to see two of your wrestlers that you grew up with who are now kind of part-timers win another title was really cool for me. And it was really cool for everybody there. But they didn't show that on the network. I'm not really sure why they didn't put that in with the card. I mean, it was on a pre-show, I guess. But they didn't put it in network, so I didn't even watch the match. I just saw they showed a highlight during a show of it, of what happened. But I can't remember anything significant sitting there watching it. But they didn't show it on the network, so I thought that was kind of weird. So after the pre-show, they had the panel. It was kind of like on the second floor of console, but it was like we were right below. If you watch the show, if you look at the panel of, it was Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, and my God, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. That was right. And I can't remember who was talking to them. I think it was another Hall of Famer. Jesus, shows how shot my memory is. But I remember we looked over and we're like, holy shit, there's Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels and Hacksaw, and we were all just mind blown with it. We're just 19-year-old kids, who not made fun of it, but we would reference all of them all the time, and we're literally 30 feet above them. It was really cool. So then I remember they were announcing that we're going to go live in 10 minutes or whatever else, then 5 minutes and 2 minutes. And then this is before the network, so it wasn't like, my buddies could go on from home and watch this and say, what the hell happened. It was, here's an illegal link. I'll send you this, So it was before the network. Just keep that in mind, like right before the network. Like, oh my God, I think maybe just a month before the network. Now, I was trying to get a couple of videos and pictures from the Rumble. My buddies had a couple. I had a couple, but I mean, we've all had 5 different phones since then, probably. But I remember uploading the intro to us being at the Rumble, and this is from, I think, my old iPhone 4. I mean, this is old. I remember just sitting there being so damn excited. Just, I mean, think about it. A couple kids who, would mimic the Royal Rumble and all of our backyards. And now we're actually here watching it. I'm mimicking the announcer. I remember just shit my pants when this is the Royal Rumble. This is one of the last times they used pyro at any show. I think they used it at WrestleMania 30, and that was it. I mean, look at all the signs. There were so many signs then, and now there's like none at all. I mean, it's really sad. I mean, every sign that WWE has, they just take away now. Just anything. The only sign they have now is they allow in is of WWE rules. Let's go Roman, instead of people once in a while I'll sneak in a Joe Cronin show sign, and then or AAW sign or something, and they'll get pissy about that or whatever. I remember the show starts off with Dan O'Brien's music, and that place fucking erupted. It just erupted, and the yes chants started. The yes chants were so loud. I mean, if you listen to that audio of the Rumble, Dan O'Brien's music, I mean, we were just chanting so loud. With the Yes Movement, and then this is when Bray Wyatt. I mean, then Bray Wyatt comes out and with the Wyatt family. This is when he was just like, I can't remember. He wasn't in WWE for that long, but he was definitely relevant enough where he got some pops too. I mean, he definitely got cheered, but it wasn't anything significant, I suppose. But I remember that match being a really good match, a really long match, and I rewatched it just a couple days ago, and I remember how good of a match it was, how behind we were with Dan O'Brien, and I mean, he lost, which is whatever. I mean, it was just a little feud they had with the Wyatt family just to kind of top it off. But I remember Dan O'Brien got out of the ring and walked into the back, but the lights were down. And we still kept chanting yes as loud as we could. Of course, they didn't air that on TV. But I remember us doing that. It was really cool. It was definitely different. I mean, there's been some white hot wrestlers where their crowd will go apeshit for, like, Stone Cold, The Rock, Cena at one point, CM Punk, and then it was Dan O'Brien's time. It was just so cool. I had so much fun with it. And, like, the Dan O'Brien Yes Movement, it was already basically in full force. I mean, he didn't announce that significant Raw segment where he said this is the Yes Movement, but the fans behind him was already in full force. And I don't know if we'll ever see something like that again. I hope so. That'd be really cool. But in comparison with that, I don't know, man. That was really, really cool and really significant. And I'll get more to it later, but it's a damn shame he didn't appear in the Rumble because I can't really imagine how loud it would have been that night. So then moving on was the Brock Lesnar versus Big Show match, and I don't think they even had like any promo videos for it. They just went right into it. You just heard Big Show's, where's the Big Show, the whole thing, and he came out, and even for being up in the nosebleed section, he still looked just ginormous. I mean, that was like my millionth time I saw Big Show, but every time I see him live, and in Braun Strowman, but Big Show especially, I'm just like, man, he's a beast. And I remember my buddy, I'll put his link in the description. He does a whole bunch of fantasy football and football news. I'll put his Twitter in the link. He does some wrestling stuff as well, a little bit. Maybe I'll get on the show a couple times here for a couple reviews and podcasts. But I remember he is a huge Brock Lesnar fan. He was a huge Lesnar fan from the time he was in WWE, he was in the Vikings, or the tryouts from MMA to back in the WWE. I mean, this was the first time that he was seeing him. And I remember he was like shitting himself when Lesnar came out. But it was really cool. I mean, that was me when I first saw Taker the first time. I shit my pants. So it was fun. I was really excited for him and excited in general. I can't remember who came out first, but I remember basically Lesnar coming out before the bell rang, I think it was before the bell rang, and just beating the piss out of the Big Show with all those chair shots. And I think the majority of the match was 90% chair shots, a couple suplexes, and F5, and the match was over. But I remember that match is so historic and so significant because, no one ever gave the Big Show. I mean, it's the Big Show. It's the giant in WCW and the Big Show in WWE. But no one ever saw him get beat like that before. Not really. And then Brock Lesnar came in and just basically beat the hell out of him. And, it was... You could hear the chair shots, how loud they were and how hard that Lesnar was hitting him. I'm surprised his back didn't start bleeding. He did have welts on his back for sure, but he didn't... No busted open, no nothing. And then somehow at the end of it, he walked up and left, But his facial expression, I remember rewatching it, his facial expressions, he was hurt, but was like shaking it off. I thought like how bad he got beat with those chair shots, his face would be more pain. But he was just kind of like, "Al, this hurts. I'm going to go in the back now." It was just, I thought that was kind of weird. I don't think that was very good. I don't think it was very good in Big Show's part, to be honest with you. But I remember Brock Lesnar picking him up for the F5, and I'm thinking, holy God, I mean, this man is just so fucking strong. It's scary how strong he is. He'll just lift it up. I think Big Show at the time was probably almost close to 500, maybe. I know he's lost a little weight since then, but I mean, still over 450 pounds. Jesus, man. And then that was really the beginning of Brock Lesnar's destruction with everybody. Starting the Big Show, and then of course WrestleMania 30 with Taker losing. I don't want to talk about it. That's a story I'll tell you guys later about how funny that fucking story is when he lost. But anyways, that was really my point is that was really the start of him just beating the hell out of everybody with Big Show, Taker, and then that same year SummerSlam with John Cena. He was just on a tear, and then he finally lost in Mania 31 against, well, I guess Seth Rollins technically, but I remember that whole year he was just beating the hell out of everybody. I think that was the year that Heath Slater, I got kids thing. I can't remember, but I think it was that. It was just a whole bunch of historic stuff with Brock Lesnar. 2014 was a big, big year for Brock Lesnar in all different ways for him. But I remember it's after that match, I was thinking to myself, man, we just saw something, historic here. I mean, it wasn't much. I mean, it was just chair shots, F5, more chair shots at the end of it. But I remember just, Paul Heyman being there. It was really yelling at Lesnar and telling him to put Big Show down and all that. But I remember after that match, I'm like, we just watched something really historic, and that was really cool. And little did I know, that was just the, surface of it. We didn't really, little did I know how more historic the rest of the show would be. But still, it was, people I know will reference that match still once in a while, and it was really cool to see that match live. The next match is the John Cena versus Randy Orton for the WWE World Heavyweight title, where they combined it again, the WCW title and the WWE title. And, I'm not really sure why they did that back then. I can't remember really why. I can't remember it was the brand split end, or they didn't like having two world titles on two of the same shows, or I forget. I'm not really sure why. I can't remember why they did it, but Randy Orton won it the pay-per-view before. I think it was TLC. I can't remember, but it was TLC, and this is kind of like the rematch. And I remember, not like everybody else, not being really excited about it. I've always liked John Cena. I've never hated John Cena as much as the fans give him shit, still to this day. Even back then, 5, 6, 7 years ago, people were still giving him shit. But I never hated the man. I've always liked him, and I've actually never really liked Randy Orton. Sorry, Randy, but he's a great wrestler, but I hate his promos, and I hate the way he talks. I mean, that's just me. But I remember just not really looking forward to the match. I'm not really sure if it was because, we knew Randy Orton was still going to win. I just was never looking forward to it. But I remember, Randy Orton came out. He kind of got a pop a little bit. It was kind of like a dead crowd. And then John Cena came out. This is before the John Cena sucks. We started singing that to him. Remember, we just started booing the whole 9 yards. And then even before the match started, when in the ring, and then they're holding belts up, and then the announcements and all that. It was just, or the introductions rather. We were just booing, and I mean, you can listen to it. I thought WWE would bleep out more of the crowd's chants during that match. I think they did bleep out a couple of it. I can't remember all of it, but they kept a lot of it in there. So during the whole entire match, people were chanting Randy Savage, Undertaker, boring, we want Divas, just a whole bunch of shit. We were chanting basically anything that we could. I remember there being a beach ball. They don't show this on TV. I remember there being a beach ball during that, going around the arena. And I remember there was one point where Randy Orton just staring at the crowd, smiling, almost like in disgust, if you will, but it was like more of a sarcasm smile. And we were just letting him have it. I mean, I was a part of it. My buddies were a part of it. And, behind the scenes, I know WWE was not happy with it. I mean, they haven't come back to Pittsburgh for a Royal Rumble. I mean, they came back to Philly twice, and it was after Pittsburgh. So it was that too. They probably won't come back to a Rumble for a long time. But anyways, I remember just giving him hell. The whole 9 yards, just giving him hell. I mean, as loud as the chants were during that match, um, I do remember thinking it was kind of slow, kind of boring, and I thought, for this being your, I guess, singles main event, it was pretty slow for two veterans. Um, but they did call on audibles, and I mean, clearly, they started doing each other's finishers, started doing random shit on top rope. I mean, John Cena. I have a picture in the corner there, John Cena jumping off of the turnbuckle. I remember it got better, and I think it got better because of the fans, and we were basically hijacking the show. We were chanting yes too. I forgot about the chorus. We were chanting Daniel Bryan, chanting yes, chanting a whole bunch of just anything we could think of. I think they were I'm pretty sure the section behind us or beside us started chanting Chris Benoit, and I doubt that made air, but I mean they were chanting just anything and everything, man. But I'm not sure if this wasn't audible either. I remember the Wyatts coming in. They went black, and the lights came back up, and there was Wyatt in the ring. Cost John Cena the match. He didn't hit him. They just distracted him. Randy Orton, the RKO, 1, 2, 3. And then he left. He left. I remember he left in pretty big hurry. I think he's probably pissed. I don't know what Randy Orton's opinions were. I don't know if he thought the match was, trashed. It was ruined. I don't know. I always want to know what him and John Cena's opinions were, and everybody else, what their opinions were for this night. But he left pretty pissed off. It looked like. But I remember then the Wyatts, just dissected John Cena. And then you knew that was the main event. Or no, I'm sorry, the main event. That would lead to a feud between the two going into Mania. And it did. Nothing too extreme, but it did lead to a feud. And then last image you see is just Bray Wyatt, looking in the sky with his arms out, sacrificing John Cena to Sister Abigail or whatever, But I remember, again, it was like one of those things where I was like, man, we just basically hijacked the show for this chance. We made two of those wrestlers in there stop in their tracks to I won't say take it all in, but to pay attention to us and know what the hell's going on, But I remember, after that same thing, I was like, what? This is completely different. Even us being there, we knew that on TV, if I was home watching us, I'd be like, holy shit. So even being there, I was like, man, that's just insane what we just did. So then the big match, the Royal Rumble match, man, is there a lot of shit behind this match. Let me tell you. I remember going into this match and knowing that Dave Bautista's in it, CM Punk's in it, we might get Daniel Bryan in it, and a couple of different surprises. And that's what we were really looking forward to, was the surprises and all of that. And there were a few. Well, it wasn't a couple. There were a few. The biggest one was Kevin Nash. That was really cool. And then the return of Sheamus. I mean, he was gone for a while. But I think that was it. I think that was all the surprises that we had that Rumble. I mean, there wasn't anyone else. Nothing. There was a rumor Kurt Angle was going to return. I mean, he was still signed with TNA at that time, I believe. So there's no way he was going to be there. But I just remember everyone speculating, who's going to show up? Taker's going to show up? Is The Rock going to show up for a second? I mean, even nowadays, I would never believe that. But it was just, you're there and you're excited. Anything could happen. But then CM Punk was number one, I think, storyline. He pissed somebody off. I don't know who it was, but he pissed somebody off and he came out number one. And then the second person came out. I think it was The Miz, I think. I'm thinking I might be wrong on that. I'm not sure. But anyways, CM Punk was in the match for about 55 minutes, I believe. He eliminated a whole bunch of people. And then I think he eliminated Kane. But then with the CM Punk thing, we're seeing Kane kneeling down. I don't think I have much anymore, especially on Raw. But where the doctors and the timekeeper are, I remember Kane kneeling down behind there. And I know in front, no one else could see him, but everyone else behind, behind that, even behind it, up in the stands, we all saw him, so we knew what was coming. And then there was a spot where Punk was on the turnbuckle, and then Kane just grabs Punk and throws him off, and Punk's eliminated. And then I remember Kane just beating the holy shit out of CM Punk, chucked him through a table, and that was it. And that was the last time we ever saw CM Punk in the WWE ring in WWE ever. I would have never, ever, 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 ever have guessed that was the last time we see CM Punk in a WWE ring. I mean, when I remember the next day, I was going to college right back in my dorm, and I got a notification from Bleacher Report or someone somewhere, ESPN maybe, I can't remember. Maybe ESPN wasn't doing WWE stuff yet, but I remember just getting a report, and then it finally went all over the place that CM Punk quit. CM Punk walked out. No, I'm sorry. Let me go back. I remember. Let me go back here. I remember the next day it was Raw. I remember seeing CM Punk not being there and thinking that's weird. And then the next day, find out CM Punk walked out. At the time, we had no idea why. I mean, we know why now. I mean, that infamous podcast with Colt Cabana and him. Oddly enough, those two are in a fight. But I remember, thinking, what the hell happened? We're having another Stone Cold Steve Austin moment here where people just walking out. I mean, he'll come back. And he's never come back. It's 5 years this month. 5 years since this month that happened. And CM Punk has no desire coming back to WWE. And there's been no teases about it. There's been nothing. And I remember a whole bunch of people online. I mean, I listened to a whole bunch of podcasters then and now. And they all say the same thing. CM Punk will come back. I remember Vince McMahon at some sort of press conference was asked about Punk's absence, and he was like, Punk's taking sabbatical, let's just put it that way. And then I'll find a picture of it. There's a picture below. It's a meme from Dumb and Dumber, Jim Carrey saying, so there's still a chance. It made me laugh. But I remember thinking, yeah, he'll come back. And he's never came back. Even in 2019, January 2019, do I still think Punk will come back? I do think he'll come back one day. When? I don't know. With All Elite Wrestling now in the picture, it may be even longer. I think CM Punk, it's one of those things where you let the years go by a little bit. You let, things calm down. It's time to heal all things. Time does heal all things. We let Macho Man come back. We let Ultimate come back. I say we, but WWE, let all these people come back. The controversies, I think CM Punk is one of those people in about maybe 10 years where he'll get inducted to the Hall of Fame, maybe 15, and and then he'll be back in WWE and they'll be fine and well. But when in terms of wrestling, I don't know, man. I still think CM Punk and the WWE will happen one day. I just don't know if it's gonna be him wrestling again. But I don't know if him coming back in the wrestling ring as a Hall of Famer. I think it will happen one day. But I just remember thinking, man, we just saw CM Punk's last appearance ever in WWE, supposedly. But at the time, I didn't think he'd do it. But now, looking back, I'm like, man, we just saw CM Punk's last appearance ever in WWE. And you can go listen to Cole Cabana's podcast. But I also remember, him saying that he had a staph infection, he was concussed, he was hurt. I don't think he looked like it, but he definitely didn't perform like it. That shows you how good of an athlete he was. But, it's a shame. It's a shame that he left like that. He was such a huge WWE star. He was the face of the company for a while. I've always been a CM Punk fan. I still am today, even in his rough MMA career. But it's a shame that it happened like that. They all fell apart like that, and that was it. I mean, he went to Cleveland that next Monday night and said, I'm out, and then went home, back to Chicago, I suppose. And it's a shame. It's a damn shame. But I remember, watching him thinking, oh man, what's CM Punk going to do at Mania since this Kane feud's going to happen now? And I don't know what the plan initially was. I think I heard that in that podcast that he was supposed to wrestle Triple H at WrestleMania 30 and win. I mean, supposedly, that's what he says. But he was supposed to go WrestleMania wrestle Triple H. That'd been cool to see. I mean, I don't think we ever saw that match. But yeah, again, like I said, it's unfortunate that he left like that. It's unfortunate that he kind of got mistreated there. And I wish nothing but the best of CM Punk. I hope one day he comes back to WWE. But it's really cool to say that I saw CM Punk's last appearance in WWE in person in Pittsburgh. It's really cool to say that. So moving on with the match, all 30 contestants, every year it's like, why the hell is this person in the Rumble? There's like 4 or 5 of them every year. Like, why the hell is the person in the Rumble? It was like 13, 14 with this year. Like that, I can't remember what the fuck the group was called, but that little fucking white rhino bull guy, I can't remember what the hell his name is, man, but he was entrant and they got eliminated immediately by, I think, Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns threw him out. That's another thing, too, is the Shield. The Shield was full force then, a couple months before the breakup, but, it was full force then. They were just dominating the ring. And then, fun fact, Roman Reigns, I think he still holds his record today, has eliminated more people in the Rumble now than Kane. Kane did it in 2001. Well, Roman Reigns did it in 2014, and it's cool because, like I said, I was there for that. They reference that every year. I don't think anyone's broke it since then. I don't think. But it's cool to say that, one of those things that I was there for. But again, it was one of those things where it was like, anyone coming back, anyone, hasn't been there in years coming back. And the only really people that were Sheamus coming back from injury. That was pretty cool. He was gone for a long time. And then Kevin Nash coming back as Kevin Nash. Like the WCW Kevin Nash, I guess. Because a couple years prior to that, he came back as Diesel. But that was it. There was nothing else. I mean, I don't want to say that it was disappointing because maybe sitting there, I was slightly disappointed. Leaving there, I was definitely disappointed. But looking back on it, knowing how historic it was and how big an ordeal it was, I'm glad I went. I'm glad I was there. But I remember just thinking, I'm slightly disappointed by all of, kind of gets the shitty participants. I don't want to say shitty, but it wasn't. I lived up. I had more hope for it, I guess. I had more hope for it. So in the Rumble match, I remember not much actually happening too much. I mean, they had the Kofi Kingston spot where he's on the padded barricades and he jumps from the barricade to the side of the ring, which is pretty cool. And then he hung upside down and used Jack Swagger's boot and beat him back in the ring, and then he got back in. Yeah, I remember then he got eliminated again, I think Roman, probably. Roman eliminated everybody that year. The big thing that happened during that Rumble that people still talk about to this day, I think, was the number 30 spot. You knew Daniel Bryan was hot. There were people buzzing all over the arena, talking about it, people behind us. I was looking at my phone then, looking on Twitter, looking at all these spoilers and all that, just thinking, they're putting Daniel Bryan in last minute. He's going to get put in. And then, there's a video of us counting down to number 30. I think it was going to be Daniel Bryan. And it was Rey Mysterio coming out. And you can hear the disappointment in our voices. And you can hear the disappointment of fans. And then just hatred and booed. Sued right after that. But yeah, number 30 was Rey Mysterio Jr., and we all thought it was going to be Daniel Bryan. I mean, I was pissed. I'm still pissed. That was 5 years ago. I'm still pissed about that, And poor Rey Mysterio, he got booed out of the arena. I mean, he was in the match for maybe not even 5 minutes. He had a 619. Even during 619, people were fucking booing. And then I remember he got eliminated. People started booing loud. People got eliminated. People started cheering even louder than the boos. It was fucking hilarious, to be honest with you. But we were all pissed, and I was thinking to myself, man, they have to be doing something to Daniel Bryan. He has to be coming out and doing something. You can't have the Royal Rumble and in the match and not have Daniel Bryan do something, like anything. At this point, and they just come out and do something. But he didn't. He never came back out. And the last 3 people, I believe, were Sheamus, Roman Reigns, and Batista. And I guess they really mentioned Batista when he has entrance. We booed him out too. He's not well liked in Pittsburgh, I guess, even to this day, I guess, from what I hear. But I remember Sheamus getting eliminated by, I think, Roman Reigns. Yeah, because that was his 13th elimination, which broke the Kane's record for the most eliminations in the Rumble. So I remember thinking, okay, and that's going to be Roman Reigns and Dave Bautista. And this hasn't had no point to it. But does anyone else notice watching that match? Roman Reigns had just such longer hair. His hair was so long then. It's much shorter now, but he had such long hair. It's the first thing I noticed about Roman Reigns. I know it's weird, but just thought I'd point that out. But I remember Dave Bautista and Roman Reigns in the middle of the ring. I'm like, okay, either one of these guys is going to go to WrestleMania and get a world title shot. And I thought Roman Reigns is clearly, they're trying to push him. He's going to be the next face of the company. It makes sense to have him. And I thought they just brought Dave Bautista back. He's going to be in a Rumble. You can't tell me he's just in a Rumble to lose. I think to myself, all right, well, I hope my first option was correct. And they both did their finishes on each other. And then there was a spot where Roman Reigns about to throw out Batista. And then Roman Reigns throws out, then Batista reverses it and throws Roman Reigns out. And let me tell you, as an avid wrestling fan for 20 years, having gone to dozens and dozens of house shows, live shows, and pay-per-views, I have never heard a crowd boo so loud than I did that night in Pittsburgh. I'm telling you, it was so loud. The disappointment. I mean, if it was a 1998 crowd and we're allowed to throw shit all over the place, that place would have caught fire. I'm telling you, the boos and everything, they were so loud. The hatred, it was bad. And I remember Dave Bautista looking at the crowd and kind of smirking. And then I'll get to what he did afterwards that they don't tell you. I want to tell you, I have these videos somewhere on my phone, like an old laptop somewhere at my parents' house. Maybe one day I'll bring them up here. But I remember, I know I have videos of this. He was leaving the ring, we're leaving the entrance area, and they're off the air at the time because they definitely showed in the network. He flipped off the crowd. He literally turned around and flipped off the crowd and made booed even louder. And it was just insane. It was literally insane. He just flipped off the crowd, tried to get more heat. I'm sure there was some heat towards. I'm sure he had heat towards us, because the amount of resentment that we had towards him. I remember just thinking, man, this is not good, WWE. And it was a shame because I kind of left disappointed. But now, reflecting on it months later, I thought, I'm glad I went to that show. I'm glad it happened for how it happened and, the historic behind it. So I'm glad I went to it. But leaving there, I'm thinking, man, I'm slightly disappointed. I've never been disappointed in a WWE show. A couple of times I have been since then. But I've never been that disappointed in a WWE show since then. And I was thinking to myself, man, I just can't believe, this show was lackluster. It was kind of slow. It was a little disappointing. Nothing really major happened. And but it was fun. I mean, overall, did I have fun? I had a hell of a time. But the show itself, it was okay. It was subpar. I'd give it a C, if that. I'd give it a C only because I was there in the Royal Rumble. If it was any other house show, I would give it a fucking F. So, and the fucking is included in the F. So, I remember just thinking, I'm leaving. I'm walking up the stairs there to go home, leaving my seats, and just the shit people were saying, he's like, I cannot believe WWE just had Batista win, and WWE just fucked all the fans over, and WWE just fucked over Daniel Bryan, and it was not good. But the really cool thing was when we were leaving the arena, you get a whole bunch of WWE fans in one place. It's a fun time, and with 15,000 other people there, it was such fun, fucking hilarious time leaving the arena. When we were leaving, they were chants of just Daniel Bryan, and then the yes, the yes, yes. From the time that we left our seats, from the time we got to our car, and then from the time we went down to 3 blocks away to go home to get sheets or something like that, to get something to eat, that was like the 30-minute gap probably just to get the hell out of the city. We were hearing all that in the escalator, in the parking garage, in the streets, everywhere. I mean, you heard Daniel Bryan chants, yes chants. I mean, there were a couple of chants there too, but mainly Daniel Bryan chants. And we were going down this escalator, and people were chanting yes. As we're going down the escalator, it was hilarious. I mean, I don't think anyone else ever said that, but it was hilarious. Even standing in line to go to the bathroom, people in the fucking bathroom. I was taking a whiz, and they were chanting yes. It was hilarious. I'm like, oh my god, I cannot believe that I'm witnessing this. And I know it's happened to a couple different shows since then. It's not the first time it's happened. It's definitely the last time since it happened. But because of the historic significance that happened that night, that just kind of put the cherry on top, if you will. It was so fucking awesome to be part of that. It was so funny. I laughed my ass off the whole way out there. People chanting yes. Even the parking garage. It was funny. It was hilarious. I'm so glad it happened. It was basically a big middle finger to WWE and I guess Vince, knowing that, we are aware of what you did, now we're going to give you hell for it. And every week on Raw, I think since then, during that era, they gave WWE hell. Booed Batista, chanted Bryan, they never shut up. And thankfully it worked out for Daniel Bryan, of course. Had a match with Triple H at WrestleMania, and if he would have won that match, he would have went to insert himself into the main event, and then he won the main event at WrestleMania, and it all worked out for Daniel Bryan. It's a very cool story for Daniel Bryan. The Yes Movement on Raw, what I just said, what happened on the Yes Movement at Raw, and they hijacked the show, and I remember sitting at a dorm watching that. It was really cool, and then we finally got to the car, and we sat there for a couple minutes just to, get on our. I wanted to go see Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, and man, I remember Nick Foley tweeted something pretty bad towards WWE. How shitty his show was, and I think Stone Cold did too. I mean, a couple of the wrestlers did too. Not only podcasters and fans themselves, and not WWE writers, but writers, reviewers and all that. Everyone just took a massive diarrhea on this show. And I was thinking to myself, okay, so the fans at home thought the same thing as we did. And I remember there was a couple tweets thanking the Pittsburgh fans, I guess, for hijacking the show and basically being the voice of the people at home and all over the world, I guess. So I mean, that was really, really cool. I remember my favorite podcaster, Greg from Good Mic Work. That's how long I've been watching him, man. I know you might be listening to this. That's how long I've been watching it for. I remember we were on halfway home, and he had a video uploaded pretty damn quick, and then he said some of the lines of I usually don't agree with the fans for how awful they can get sometimes, but he's like, what the fuck, WWE? And I'm thinking, oh man, if Greg's pissed off, he didn't call himself Greg back then, but if Good Mic Work's pissed off, holy shit, this is bad. This is really, really bad. And then I watched a bunch of other people talk about it on YouTube and Twitter and Instagram, Facebook, everybody. It was a bad thing. And I put my 2 cents in, and I made a Facebook status. I don't know if I can find it. I'll put it up here if I can. But I made a Facebook status about saying, shitty how the show ended, but I'm so glad I was at one of the most revolting professional wrestling shows I've ever seen, the world's ever seen. And I still mean it to this very day. I'm so glad I was there. Going into the show, I just thought, I'm going to see a couple of matches. I'm going to see the Royal Rumble match. I'm going to see who goes to the main event, and it's going to be a fun time to go home. Little did I know how historic this match would be. The whole show would be with the CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, Batista, everything. How historic the show was. It was basically a turning point for WWE. They had to shift some stuff around, because they didn't want to go into WrestleMania 30 at the Mercedes-Benz Dome, and I forget what the hell it's called, and Mercedes-Benz Dome, I think, in New Orleans. But, you don't want, 80,000 people booing Batista out of the ring at WrestleMania 30. It's the biggest show you have ever. And you want the loudest boos, the loudest cheers you ever had. Obviously it made sense. But it definitely changed a lot of storylines. Definitely changed, I don't want to say the face of WWE, but definitely changed a lot for WWE. And ever since then, we've had up and downs of WWE, and we were on a crazy ass ride with it, But definitely that night made its mark in history. the last two things I want to talk about before I get out of here, because I know it's been going on forever, but the last thing I want to talk about was, you know, there were no WWE women's matches on there. This is before the women's or the Divas Revolution, I guess, the Women's Revolution. This is way before it. So, basically they treat the Divas like shit, which is it's unfortunate. It really is. But I mean, there were no women wrestlers at all on the show, and we chanted "We want Divas," and I'm not sure if we chanted it because we were chanting, just random shit, or we're chanting it because we wanted Divas. This is before Sasha Banks and Charlotte and all that. I think we had like Layla and I can't remember. I don't think we had really much. That's probably why we didn't have much Divas matches, because we didn't actually have any decent women wrestlers at the time. I mean, we didn't. It's honestly God's truth. You look back to 2014, maybe we had maybe one or two, but there wasn't very many. Thankfully now, I mean, how historic is this? Now in 2018, we had the first ever women's Royal Rumble, and then a couple other, we had the Raw and SmackDown. I don't know. They didn't fight last year, didn't they? Both titles weren't even fought, I don't think, last year at the Rumble. But anyways, they finally had a women's Rumble in 2019. Now we're gonna have it. Just shows a long way how the WWE Divas came. It's only been 5 years. 5 years is not a long time, but in the span of 5 years, a lot's happened with those WWE Divas, and I'm so glad that it worked out for them. But that's one of the things that people do say, is that there wasn't one Divas match or one Divas segment on there. It was all guys, and I think maybe the show, when the Divas Revolution happened, they took the show consideration and thought, where we fuck up or fans use it against WWE, So it's one of those things where, it's unfortunate it happened, but it's fortunate it happen because, what happened with the Divas Revolution, what's happening now with it, as of January 16th, 2019, they just announced the women's tag team titles, and that's significant. That is so significant. I'm so happy that happened. We'll see what happens, I guess, with the women's, revolution. And now they're talking about WrestleMania 35, which I will be attending, about having, I guess, Becky and Ronda, or Charlotte and Ronda, or whatever the triple threat may be happening as the main event at WrestleMania. So I'm so glad it happened, but man, there was not one Divas match on the show, and again, it's fortunate, unfortunate it happened, because look where they're at now. The second thing I remember was thinking, there's only a couple of matches on the show. Any other wrestling main event, you have like 8-9 matches. There was like, let's see, 5, I guess, in the Rumble match. I mean, you had to use everybody for the Rumble, of course, but I just thought they would use a couple more people for more matches. I mean, maybe back then they're lacking star power. I mean, kinda. I mean, all you really had was Cena, CM Punk, Dean, or Bryan. I mean, that's your big 3 people right there. I don't even consider Batista, because we hated him so bad, and they was forcing down our throats. It was. I don't even consider him. I guess Brock too. Now looking, I don't think he's even on a poster. If he is, he's in the back somewhere. But maybe just lacking star power. But I remember thinking there wasn't very matches here. It was a long show because the matches were long, but I just want to point that out too. So that's it. I know I rambled for a long time on this. I put my 2 cents in this show. It brought back a lot of memories we watching the show. I just discussed with my buddies recently about the show and how historic it was. And, a couple people I work with, I told them I was at the show, and who are wrestling fans like, oh, you were at that show? It's like, oh my God, how, and, it's cool to be at one of the shows where you're proud to say I was there. And this is one of those shows. I was at a couple of Raws when I was younger, where I was proud to be at. Like, there was that segment where Kane was in a hospital bed, and Shane McMahon challenged him to an ambulance match at Survivor Series. That show is kind of historic, but it was one of the shows I was happy to be proud at. I was proud to be at. But I'm really glad I went. As shitty as the show was, and as shitty as the Daniel Bryan thing happened, as bad as CM Punk left, I'm glad I was there, because it was so historic, and I can look back and smile about it, because it was a it was kind of like a right turn for WWE. They went a different path since then, I think. It's just one of those things where, you know, fortunate happened, unfortunate happened. I know I said it a couple times, but it's true. And that's how I leave the show. It's fortunate it happened, but it's unfortunate that it happened. So that's it, guys. That's my review on the Royal Rumble 2014. Well, do I think they'll come back to Pittsburgh Royal Rumble? I don't know. I mean, I still think WWE's pretty salty about, how the fans treated the show and how bad we hijacked the show for the most part. But it'd be cool. I would definitely go again. I mean, they went to Philly twice. I mean, they fucked over the crowd twice. They did Bryan in Philly. One limiting, and the next one he wasn't even there because he was hurt, of course. But I think they would come back to Pittsburgh for a Royal Rumble. Just give it a while, man. I think they're still pretty pissed off about that. I mean, they came back for Extreme Rules of the summer in 2018, so I went to that. That was pretty cool. But in terms of the Royal Rumble or a big 4 pay-per-view, not including WrestleMania, I don't think they're going to Pittsburgh WrestleMania unless it was like a PNC Park or Heinz Field. But in terms of Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, and SummerSlam, I think they will. It's just going to be a while, I think, because a lot of people go to this show outside of the country and all over the country. So we'll see. I think they will, but not for a while. All right, guys, that's it. If you enjoyed this and if you listened to it, thanks so much. All the links, social media, Twitter, all below here. I do live streams every Monday night. I try to do reviews in SmackDown every Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. Now my voice is going back for talking for about an hour. But if you guys want to have more, please subscribe. I upload a couple videos a week, and that'll be it. Appreciate you guys watching here. I'll talk to you guys later. Thanks.